Libra. Welcome to your December reading. So love, oh, I forgot the world card. Picked up the whole deck except the world, so let's go with that. First card out. Just sitting there, huh? Waiting for you to pick it up. Didn't even need to shuffle. The world just presenting itself to you. Here you go. Have the whole world. You already had so much of what you wanted, what you were missing. As I get comfortable, what you were missing was that connection. The world comes in for Libras in December and starts to fill in all those little spaces where you just weren't getting enough. Of course, this will highlight the lack that used to exist. So you have to be really careful not to get stuck in that energy of how much time did I waste, or why did I allow it for so long, or I could have been doing this or that. Just don't get stuck there. Acknowledge the disparity between then and now, between what is now presented to you and what you have been tolerating. Acknowledge your struggle, acknowledge the past, and don't dwell. Move forward. And remember, that person will never be capable of what someone with a deep emotional intelligence is capable of. The people that are coming into your life now, their just capacity for love is much deeper. Their feelings are much deeper. They exist on a level that makes you feel like your own emotional reaction to things isn't disproportionate. Your emotions are validated by the depth of their feelings. Does that make sense? It's liberating to be around someone, especially as a Libra. It's liberating for you to be around someone who you don't have to be less dramatic for example, because they'll just take it in stride. Either they think it's adorable, or they're taking it serious and they believe every word, and they're just along for the roller coaster. And what a wonderful thing, what a wonderful connection to be able to have with someone where your feelings are acknowledged and someone is willing to go on the ride with you. It's beautiful to feel like someone will hold your hand on this ride. It's a beautiful thing, and it's rare, especially if you're a strong personality and you want things a certain way, and you, of course, you have this very cardinal energy. There is an Aries that's very intimately involved in this somehow. And you have to give a lot of credit to this person, because they have forged a way for you. They have created a space for you to imagine something different. And regardless of how you may now be feeling about them, it's important to acknowledge that sometimes you need someone who doesn't have the filters, the social filters you have, to get the job done. Mars is also playing a huge role. We're not doing astrology until the second part now, so this is all just going off of what I see in the cards. Mars is doing, some big things for you in December, namely pushing you forward with your passion and saying, listen, trust it. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to have a greater aim or goal. It doesn't have to be financially beneficial. It just needs to feel good I just want to feel something. Now, the downside of that is that, you know, just wanting to feel something, especially with someone who is perhaps a bit more impulsive and more passionate than you, is really fun until it's not fun anymore. And that's not to put a damper on how you're feeling, but we want to be very careful in our happy moments to be as cautious as we would be in our unhappy moments about what we divulge and what we share. What I'm trying to say is, Libra, you can fall in love with someone without immediately telling them everything about you, especially all your secrets and weaknesses, and just don't tell them everything. We want to always be, you know, responsible and aware of our reputation and our power and what we stand to lose, you know, lest things go wrong, God forbid. And we always want to be financially responsible even when we are in the throes of something new, especially if we are owning or running a business or in some way involved with spiritual work. You don't want to become clouded and muddied in your perception, your money-making abilities. This is a time to think clearly. So if you end up, you know, really liking someone and then you have some tower moments, it will be much easier to mitigate and deal with if you don't tell them a bunch of things that later become compromising or uncomfortable to deal with. Also, if you are aware of the fact that this is a time that can be very difficult in terms of making financial decisions because you're lacking focus, because you're focused on other things, then perhaps you will refocus and be diligent about fulfilling your financial responsibilities, your business responsibilities, and therefore you can avoid moments of regret as pictured here, where you took your eye off the ball in Sagittarius season and then are regretful for it in Capricorn season, because, you know, we want things set up and already in place for Capricorn season. That's a well-oiled machine that just wants to get going. It's not a time for building, it's a time for acceleration. So if you enter a time of acceleration without having done the building, it will be incredibly uncomfortable and you will lose step and lose speed. And you don't want to do that. And to be perfectly blunt and honest, if the connection is worthy of anything, or if whatever has got you excited like this is worthy of anything, then it will also demand for you to take care of your responsibilities and to not lose sight and to not lose focus and not lose sight of, more importantly, who you are, which is what this becomes a question of. Instead of just about your financial responsibilities or your familial responsibilities, this becomes a much larger question of what happens to a Libra when they connect deeply with someone or something, from a subject matter to a person, a relationship, a situationship, or anything in between. What happens to Libra's sense of self, and how much of that is not perhaps given away, but put to the side or forgotten about in the throes of passion, or in the name of love, or in the name of, perhaps in this case, distraction, is what it most certainly seems like in terms of the astrology and in terms of cards. But no one is here to judge. The point is that regardless of what it ends up being, whether it's the most wonderful thing in the world, God willing, that's what we want, or something that you're like, if you are careful about the information you share, and you are careful about continuing to fulfill your responsibilities and not losing sight of those things, then something that is a very fun roller coaster can remain a very fun, innocent roller coaster and not become something tower-ish. Yes? I love you. Hi, Libra. Welcome to the second part of your reading. I have to say, your reading this month is my favorite. The light, the aesthetic, the message, it was just easy. It flowed for me in a way that I really enjoyed. And watching it back, I felt that same flow. There was a bit of surrendering going on, but you know, that surrender is something you can get caught up in. And before we know exactly how trustworthy or capable someone is, we don't want to divulge too much. But I don't mean that as a judgment. I don't mean capable as in the opposite of incapable, right? I don't mean that. I mean that there are certain personality types that are suited to certain lifestyles and certain that are not. Some people simply do not have the wherewithal to give you what you need. Some people, for example, don't like a lot of attention. They're uncomfortable around it. Some people have a total aversion to drama. Some people, and for the life of me, I can't imagine why, don't really care very much for art or the aesthetic of things. Now that's all well and good. But if you expect that from them and they can't deliver it, does that mean they don't love you? Does that mean there's something wrong with them? Or does it simply mean that they don't have the components to create the love language that you understand? So none of this is a judgment. None of this is accusatory. There is no moral obligation here. It's fine. Whatever risk you want to take, go ahead and take it. But revealing too much about yourself is not one of those risks. If you want to be flirty with someone and have a fling, great. If you want to start something new, take on a new work partner that you don't know very well, okay. Might go well, might not go so well. It's okay. Take a few risks, have a few adventures. But there is a moment where it goes from being an interesting and fun adventure to being a tower moment. And that, witching hour there is the time where you say too much and you end up giving someone that you perhaps don't know very well, and you certainly don't know what they're capable of, you end up giving them a little ammunition. And in December, people are really waiting for you to slip up and do that. Surprisingly, even people who don't mean you any harm, they're still noticing that you're a bit more open than you generally are, and they would like to take full advantage of it. Now, the connection you're feeling, that is all to say that the connection you're feeling, Two of Cups, seems genuine, but it's also very much feeding your ego. And oftentimes when something is overfeeding your ego, it has a tendency, the tower moment, to collapse. Now, for those of you who've already gone through the collapse and are coming out the other side of it, and you're starting to feel like yourself again, there seems to be even more romance on the horizon. This romance now prompting you to address whatever your last situation was and whatever pain, Three of Swords, you may have experienced there, and how much of yourself have you retained, the Justice card, and how much of you has changed, evolved, some would say improved. Queen of Swords. You realize in December that through these painful moments, you have evolved, refined, all those fun things that Libras love most. Now, if you're at all confused about money, or whatever you're doing for money has a spiritual component to it, and you're kind of lost, Seven of Cups, about how to reconcile this with yourself because you're not exactly sure if what you're doing is on the up and up, and even if, like in your gut, you're feeling like things might be wrong, it's really time to just tell the truth and shoot those arrows, Temperance. Like, say it exactly how it is, be as direct as possible, and I think you'll be surprised at how much responsibility you can take on very quickly if you were to address what needs to be addressed. Do you remember, this is gonna sound so odd, and it's like certainly not how you are, but Remember in The Usual Suspects how he says that the thing that made Kaiser Soze was that he could do the thing that the other guy wouldn't. You know, maybe right now, the thing that the other guy wouldn't do is to go in there and be really honest with whomever you have a work relationship with or a work partnership with or a business partnership with, and tell them the truth about how you feel and what your dissatisfactions are. I think if you're really upfront about your confusion instead of getting lost in the confusion, and if you keep a cool head, I think you'll be very happy with the results. Now, of course, there will be a tendency to want to lament the past, and there is that ambitious streak in you, that cardinal streak that's like, oh, if I had just known this before, I could have done this and this, so much wasted time, so much this. So. But you have to remember that your journey is a winding road, and whatever mountaintop you think you're going to get to, and that will make you feel like you've won or that you've done something, it doesn't exist. That feeling has to come from within. And people don't have it, they chase it forever. Okay. All the links for the extended are below. This is the Quietest Revolution rings. We've been wearing them stacked because we love it, and now we're going to make a double ring. This is the world. This is the Empress. See, it's two. I'm just wearing them as one because I think it's dope. That link is below as well. And if you're interested in daily horoscope, come on over to Instagram at the Quietest Revolution and check out the daily transits and how they apply to your sun, moon, and rising. Love you. I'll see you in the extended right now.